Member of the media covering the Carolina Panthers for Charlotte Vibe, coming to you a day later than normal. Usually it's a Monday show, but as you may know, I was in Tampa covering the game in which we unfortunately did not win, wasn't able to make the playoffs, but my flight back to Charlotte yesterday was delayed. Not a lot, not significantly, but enough where the show would have taken place at about 9:30 last night, and I just felt like that would have been a little too late. So little unusual to join you on a Tuesday for a live show, but got to do the weekly show, got to earn the status, man of the people. So here I am to talk about whatever you were wanting to talk about in reference to the Carolina Panthers and their loss just a couple days ago to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Or there's other news that has developed since then in terms of possible head coach candidates. And you know, I already had this title in place prior to coming online in terms of with the loss that we suffered against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you were a person that felt like Steve Wilks should be a candidate for the next, I won't even say candidate, if you think that he should be the coach, removing the interim head coaching title, did you still feel like he would be at this point? Now, if you already were on the fence or didn't want him, then I don't need your opinion because it doesn't really matter for trying to get the temperature of the people who believed in coach hasn't changed. But for everybody out there, would also like to talk about the fact that a candidate has arisen in terms of who the Carolina Panthers would consider for their next head coach, possibly. You know, everything's just a bunch of, I can't say a bunch of rumors right now, but just preliminary stuff. But Jim Harbaugh, the head coach of Michigan, has had a conversation with the owner for the Carolina Panthers. So he's emerging as a person that could possibly be the next Carolina Panthers head coach. I see somebody already put out there a little comment about Jim Harbaugh. So yeah, that's what we're here for today. It's again, the follow-up show to the game is always working for you all and just talking about whatever it is that you may want to talk about. So as I get everybody a chance to sign on, let me remember to encourage you to subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Hit the like button. That's something I want you all to get in the habit of doing each and every time a video pops up, is hit that like button, as it helps me continue to grow and continue to get players on the show and all that good stuff that we like to do and get you some good information. So please consider doing that and subscribe and hit that bell notification so that you can go live whenever I'm on here. So let me go ahead and give a few shouts. My mic is doing pretty well today, so let me turn it down a little bit. Check, 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 check. All right, sorry about that live on-air check, but I didn't want the mic to be too loud for you guys. So, Josh, what's going on? Appreciate the keep pounding. Black Panther says Jim Harbaugh. You like it? So, Black Panther, does that mean you're all in for Jim Harbaugh? You're all in for him as a consideration? If you're all in for Jim, does it mean you're all out for Steve Wilks? Curious to okay, your next comment, I guess, here tells me my question is you want Jim Harbaugh to be the coach. So that's cool. Let me continue to work through some of these comments here. Tyree Ross, what's going on? Chris, what's going on with you, Tyree? Thank you for joining me today. Let's also, as I give some people a chance to sign on and start to leave their comments, let me give you a few follow-up things from yesterday's press conference with Coach Steve Wilks. So J.C. Horn didn't play. Let me get this off the screen here. Sorry, I forgot to do that. So J.C. Horn did not play in the game this past Sunday, and they were going to reevaluate him within 10 to 12 days. I believe that was said on Wednesday. Didn't even take 10 days. Didn't even take 7 days. Carolina Panthers lose. They're no longer in contention. And as I suspect, and I fully am glad that they did, J.C. Horn is now placed on injured reserve. There's absolutely 0 point in bringing him back for Sunday's game when it means nothing overall for where the team could go. Big picture, right? Big picture, you got a second-year guy who didn't play much at all that first year. Give him a chance to heal. Give him a chance to continue to be the elite corner that we all feel like he could be, and it seems like he's going to be. He's been playing some extremely good football, and my opinion, should have been a little bit higher in that Pro Bowl voting, but nevertheless, it is what it is. Josh Norman, Coach Wilks talked about Josh Norman's snaps. I forget the exact snap count. Let me see if I can quickly get it in front of me here so I can talk very accurately. Josh Norman played 10 snaps this past Sunday, and 9 of those were in the second half. I know for sure he only played 1 in the first half, and Coach Wilks commenting further on the lack of play for Josh Norman, saying still, guy was on the couch. The guy was working in his coffee shop just last week. It's kind of hard to expect him to come out and do a whole lot. He appreciates everything that Josh did, but just certainly didn't feel like he was in a position to run up and down the field on deep plays this past Sunday. So will Josh continue to play this Sunday? What can we expect? Now, Coach Wilks also was asked a question about, are you going to look to play more of your younger guys to kind of evaluate some of that talent there with, have you talked with Fitterer and maybe even Tepper about that? He said they had those conversations all throughout the season. He has, wanting to evaluate the roster from top to bottom and continue to look within to find guys to play. But I don't feel like you're going to consider letting Josh play too much more this Sunday than he played last Sunday. I foresee them letting Josh continue to be out there, continue to be a substitution role, but you're not going to put him out there bigger. Now, just for several reasons. He was brought in my opinion, with the best use case scenario of making it through Tampa and then still continue to play New Orleans and into the playoffs. With that no longer the picture, I don't know how much longer that they would see Josh as being a big fit and need on this team, in spite of a lot of us liking Josh Norman as a player. Now, a few other things. I see some Jim Harbaugh comments coming in, so we're certainly going to get into it. Just a few more things from Coach Wilks and talking about the game on Sunday. Did he feel like C.J. Henderson quit on that play? He said no. He doesn't feel like he quit, but did he fully execute how he should have? No. He actually went to break down 3 of those deep passes. All were successfully thrown to Mike Evans. He said on 2 of them, he would go and say that the players, they didn't execute the way that they should have executed. Even breaking down the schemes that they were in, what the responsibilities of the corners and the safeties were during those plays, and just said that everybody did not do their job like they were supposed to on those plays. But he did take responsibility for the third one, the final one, saying that Carolina was in a blitz, all-out blitz. Tampa Bay was in a max protect, and they should have made some adjustments to that, and he puts that on him for not making the adjustments to that, leading to that big play for Tampa Bay. So those are all the things that I had, and now let's go ahead and talk about these comments, because there's just a few of them. Let's see what we got going on here. Andre Cunningham says, the team and the fans want Wilks to be the coach. Let them continue growing with what the team and fans love. So that's a vote for Steve Wilks to continue to be the coach and not for Jim Harbaugh to be the coach. So regardless of what we want, the owner's going to have to go through a process of interviewing guys and girls and making a decision on who he wants his next head coach to be. Now, let's also keep in mind that the Rooney Rule will have to be enforced and executed, meaning that they must conduct an interview with at least one minority candidate. Steve Wilks cannot be considered that because he's currently that guy. So there still needs to be the execution of the Rooney Rule, one external minority candidate, and then whomever else that owner David Tepper is willing to, wanting to get some more information about. So my thoughts so far on it, man, I've had a busy day since coming back. I know that the Jim Harbaugh news is out there. I know Jim Harbaugh has played in the league. He's been successful in the league. Maybe I'm a little old school, but my initial thought is, man, I like somebody that's committed to being here. And for me, Jim Harbaugh has just kind of been in, out. And that's one of the things, like, if I'm Tepper, that I'm really wondering about, because he just got a new contract with Michigan. So is it more about the money? Is it more about he wants to be in the league? What's going to have Jim Harbaugh, if he does, in fact, become the coach of the Carolina Panthers, to stay here? Because that's something that I feel like needs to heavily be considered, is the longevity for this next person that comes in. If they have a bad season, how much patience will we have? Will we have the patience because we know that that person is invested in this team and staying here in this organization? Or if they have a couple of good seasons, are they going to say, well, you know, we had a good run in Carolina. We turned them around. We went to the playoffs, made it to the NFC Championship, whatever that may be. And then now this person is wanting to go to the next place because they're offering a bigger check or something. I don't know. So those are some questions that I would really like to be on the table if we're considering a Jim Harbaugh. And those are my immediate thoughts about it when it crosses my head. What up, Tin Tizzy? Appreciate you jumping on and saying hello. Hope all is well with you. Ali Bodrick, if Jim is hired, do you think the players will play hard for him like they do for Wilks? So, you know, right now we're obviously in the midst of seeing a big change from from Matt Rule to Steve Wilks, and everybody loves it, including myself, that these guys are certainly playing hard. I'm sure somebody out there could say, well, C.J. Henderson wasn't the other day. We'll let Mike Evans run by him. Okay. You know, as a whole, this team plays pretty hard and responds pretty well to Coach Steve Wilks. Will they do the same for Jim Harbaugh? You know, it's generally, regardless of who it is, the next person that comes in, initially, you have people buying in and following you. So I wouldn't go to worry about the next person unless you're horrible, you know, unless you just stink it up, the guys start to go downhill. But generally, when you first start out, people are going to give you, the players are going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and they're going to trust in your process unless you're just saying something extremely crazy, which, man, I'm trying to think of the college coach that went to Philadelphia and made those guys run around. And, you know, he had some challenges there because he was changing stuff up so much. I can't think of his name. I'm sure you all will. But unless you have something like that happen, I'm not worried about the guy who comes in and the team playing hard for him. It's the guy that comes in, and what I get concerned about is, what I think we all would think of is, how much change are we going to have? How many years back is it going to set us in terms of how much do they not like what's already in place and want to tear it apart? Coaching staff, players, everything now have to have a whole new draft, and we go back to another 3-year plan. That would be tough. So that still goes back to David Tepper and the kind of interviews that he wants to have with these possible coaches, and hoping that he has a big picture mind of, again, I don't want a guy that's just going to be here for 3 years. And you can want that all you want, but you have to really screen for that to happen. So hopefully, Ali Broderick, that gives you a little opinion about what I think if Jim is hired. Andre does not think that they will hire him. Wilks over Harbaugh and Darnold for QB1 next season. Both deserve a full season. Maybe a different offensive coordinator if deemed necessary. So understandably, we're going to be in a lot of speculation at this point. There's going to be so many layers to that speculation. If he's here, then this. If this guy's here, then that. And it gets a little hard, and I don't like to do too much speculative reporting. I'll give my opinion a little bit, but I like for things to be just a little bit more known and before you can speculate, because it's just so hard. It's it's almost like winning the lottery if you could guess on all those different scenarios if this person hears and what that's going to look like. Wilks over Harbaugh. Okay, Jairus, that's your opinion, which you're entitled to. That's fine. Darnold for QB1 next season. Trying to give you my thoughts on Darnold for QB1 next season. Darnold's definitely been showing me more and more each week. He did have the mistakes last week. And I wouldn't be ready to jump off the Darnold bandwagon because of last week's performance. Everybody's entitled to have a bad Sunday. It wasn't a horrific Sunday. It wasn't a terrible Sunday. It wasn't a quarterback rating of 0. He still did well in scrambling, keeping drives alive, keeping his eyes downfield. But he did make some mistakes which led to turnovers. So for me, it will be seeing how Darnold responds against the New Orleans Saints. Now, Steve Wilks said that he is going to be the starting quarterback versus the New Orleans Saints. Not at all surprised for that. He absolutely 1,000,000% should be the starting quarterback when we face the New Orleans Saints. What is Sam going to want to do at the end of this season? Is Sam going to be wanting to be in Carolina, or is he going to want to say, hey, I played good enough. Carolina's, they're in a who knows what kind of situation. I want to be in a situation where I know more about what's going to happen. So you also have to look at that in terms of how much would Sam want to be here if he doesn't know who his next head coach is going to be, and he doesn't know what that head coach is going to want. So it's a lot to figure out there, but I'll continue to report to you and break it down to you as it happens. Black Panther, please, Mr. Tepper, make this happen. Jim Harbaugh. Let me see what this comment here is from Andre. Why go back to a college coach when you just fired the last one? So there will absolutely be talk of another college coach. And Jim Harbaugh is certainly in the college ranks right now. But Jim is different. He's not a 100% college coach, meaning that's where all of his experience has been. He's had no head coaching experience in the NFL, which is not true. He has had head coaching experience in the NFL. One second. Little distractions going on, live TV. You can see me get distracted, just making sure I don't have any big news that I need to talk about right here, and I do not. 1 second, guys. All right, so back on track. So I just wanted to make sure there was no breaking news that was coming on those texts that I just had. But Jim Harbaugh has 4 years experience in the NFL coaching. Doing pretty good, making it to the Super Bowl in one of those seasons, making it to the NFC Championship in 2 other seasons. So basically 3 out of 4 seasons in which he was the coach in San Francisco, they were at least at the NFC Championship, and then went to the Super Bowl one year, and then his least successful year, and last year was year 4, where he finished 8-8. Obviously, that's before we went to the 17-game season. So after that, he returned to Michigan, and he's been at Michigan. He's been pretty good being at Michigan. So a lot different from being a Matt Rule, just college coach. He's been an NFL head coach. He's been an NFL player. He's even been on the Carolina Panthers roster. So a lot different there. And we'll just have to see. I'll continue to let you guys know all the details that I'm able to get about this and share them with you as we go through this off season. He will be in the defensive coordinator, but I say PJ deserves it more since he wasn't supposed to be here. Not 100% on this comment here. I guess he will be in the yeah. Casey, if you could give me just a little bit more about that comment there so I can properly digest it, that'd be helpful for me. Oh, I got you. Here you go. You did bring out some more. Jim Harbaugh for head coach, but Wilks for defensive coordinator. Well, one thing to think on further about that is if Jim Harbaugh comes here, does Steve Wilks want to stay here as a defensive coordinator, or has he given himself a pretty good opportunity to be a head coach for another team? I really think that he has, because he turned his team around. Certainly if you like that blue collar mentality, physicality that you want for your team, ground and pound, then Steve Wilks certainly has shown that he's a man that could lead your team in that kind of identity if that's what you want. So if he doesn't have any of those opportunities, then yeah, maybe slide back down to being a defensive coordinator in Carolina. But I feel like he should have and may have some pretty good opportunities out there to be a head coach. And then staying here as a defensive coordinator after you've had the interim head coaching title for as much as you have and for the turnaround you did. I was going to speculate, but I don't want to in terms of how he may feel on that. I would like to get a little bit more opinions from other people in the league before I comment on that much. But those are my thoughts so far in regard to that. And then Josh, they're talking about what I brought up, which is true. Tepper can just interview Steve Smith and Jonathan Stewart to satisfy the Rooney Rule. Hopefully that will not be the case, Jairus. I hear you. Malcolm Gerard Smith says, them people need to let Wilks be great. I mean, I'm not mad at the Jim Harbaugh talks. I know before I would say that I don't know who's all out there available in terms of other good head coaches. But I do know this. Steve Wilks has shown that he's a legitimate head coaching candidate. I don't feel like he's absolutely not the best thing. I don't feel like, no, he's not a good head coach. I feel like he is absolutely worthy of being a head coach in the NFL. And we'll see who he's going to be up against right now. As it has emerged that Jim Harbaugh could be one of those people. Tepper has had some conversation with him and had a full-on interview, but it could have been something like, hey, Jim, if I decide to bring you in, would you consider being a head coach? And Jim's like, yeah, I wouldn't mind, considering the NFL and coaching in that league. So that news came out today from the good old Fox. Will Conkle was the first one that had let out that information about that. So, yeah, Chip Kelly. Thank you, Tim Tizzy. Earlier I was talking about college coach that came to the NFL and did some really radical changes that made things kind of interesting. That was Chip Kelly, when he went to the Philadelphia Eagles. Didn't last that long up there. Tepper has talked to Jim Harbaugh, so the wheel is in motion. Yeah, he's talked to him. I think I hadn't specifically said that till a few seconds ago, but Jim Harbaugh has had conversations with David Tepper. All right, Paul Mancini. Wilks cannot remain as defensive coordinator if another head coach is hired, as it would be way too awkward for the new head coach and Wilks. I agree. That, earlier I went to talk about my thoughts on that and I couldn't connect the dots, so I just didn't want to say anything. But I certainly agree that it would be challenging if you're the new guy that comes in. I'm here. Maybe there's a few bumps in the road as we're going through things and as transitions are being made. And players have recently been under my instruction for head coach, and now you're here. And it could be some awkward moments. I agree. I agree about that. Thank you, Paul, for that comment. Black Panther says Wilks can leave and take McAdoo with him. Black Panther, I don't know if you've already said this in the comments, but if you're not a fan of Steve Wilks, and I'm not saying that you're supposed to be, let me know why. Let me know why you're not a big fan of Steve Wilks. Just so I can talk about that and have my understanding from you regarding that, all right? Let's see here. Give me just a second, guys. Gotta get rid of this little bit of spam that's in here. Alrighty, here we go. All right, had to get rid of that spam. And this is why you need me as a moderator. If I made you a moderator, would you be? You'd probably be kicking everybody out, man. I don't know what you'd be doing. But that spam wasn't too bad right there. I do need a moderator. Maybe I'll figure that out for next year, how I want to do the moderation. Let's see. Jared Bagger, that last fumble wasn't on Darnold. Ekwonu got burned on his blind side. His QBR was 108. True. It wasn't directly on him. Ekwonu did not help Sam out too much in that case. But it happened. You know, the turnover happened. The turnovers from Sunday led to 10 points for the San Francisco 49ers. And you can't do that. You know, it's tough to do that, but with the way that we run our offense, can't do it. And so that was a big reason for that loss. Sam's been so successful because of no turnovers, and then I think we had 3 turnovers on Sunday. It was just too much to overcome, especially when you're playing a team that has a pretty good defense like the Tampa Bay Bucks can have or has. And then you're making mistakes allowing deep balls, which Tom Brady just ate you up on and took your lunch and became NFC South champ. So got to make sure that doesn't happen. McAdoo would be replaced if Wilks stayed because McAdoo ain't Wilks' person, but would be more hard to change the playbook in the middle of the year. Harbaugh and Anthony Richardson. I can't unsee it. I think you like Sam Darnold as well, Big Jordan. Big Jordan, do you feel like Sam Darnold should be here next year? If you do feel like he should be here next year, do you have any idea of what kind of capacity that you feel like he should be here? Should he be here competing? Should he be here owning that starting position? Let me know. Harbaugh beat Aaron Rodgers in his prime in the playoffs. Yeah, he's a good coach. I'm not saying I would not want Harbaugh here because of his abilities. My feeling with Harbaugh being here is I would want him to be here in some kind of permanency. Just because we need that. I need that. You guys need that as a fan, right? I feel like one thing that concerns me about Jim is like he's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. Well, ever since he's been at Michigan. Has he just been sitting at Michigan because he's waiting for a good NFL opportunity? Because he's been in, he's been out, he got a new contract at Michigan, and then he still now wants to get out. So that part of it, I want a commitment from the head coach. I don't want somebody that just comes in here, gets us winning, and then 3 years they're gone because they just want to go to the next big opportunity. That's a little thing with me. Jim Harbaugh has more experience than Steve Wilks. As a head coach, he does. Coaching overall, I don't know about that one. I'm not saying that he doesn't, but I know, let me tell you how many years of experience that Wilks has in coaching in the NFL. Wilks has 16 years of NFL coaching experience. Now, I'm not talking about as a head coach, but just 16 years coaching experience. So that would take us back to, let's see, we're going to do some math for you on the fly. About 2006 is when he got into coaching. Jim Harbaugh got into coaching, okay, in 2004, but that was at the college level. So Jim only has those 4 years of NFL experience. And then overall, he started in '04, so he started 2 years before Wilks, but has spent the majority, all but 4 years of that time at the college ranks. Just something to think about. Jim Harbaugh has more head coaching experience. Head-to-head, just overall NFL experience, Wilks has far more at 16 years. Harbaugh has spent most of his time in the college ranks. So just some facts for you. I like to give you facts. Can't be man to people without giving you facts. C-Dog votes for Steve Wilks. Josh, I'd be interested to see what Wilks does with this roster in the offseason. Yeah, I'm good. Like I said, I'm just going to continue to report to you guys as the information comes out. It would certainly be interesting to see what Steve Wilks can do in the offseason. And then with the new head coach, it'd be interesting to see, well, man, what are we getting ourselves into? What kind of changes are we about to go through? Casey, I don't want to say that our team is one-dimensional, but it lacks advanced plays and schemes. I need Harbaugh, creative mind, and dog-like fire mentality as head coach, and Steve Wilks could lead more too. Yeah, so in fairness, Steve Wilks has to just deal with what he has, right? You've seen Steve Wilks go through P.J. Walker, Sam Darnold. Why am I drawing a blank on the quarterbacks? Who's the other quarterback? P.J. Walker, Sam Darnold. Wow. I'm drawing a blank on our quarterbacks. I'm thinking of Matt Corral, but he's not the other one that has played. I feel so awful terrible that I cannot think of all of our quarterbacks. Let me just cheat. Bring it up here. Quarterbacks. Who do we have on our roster? Man, this is terrible. This is an embarrassing live TV moment. Sam Darnold, P.J. Walker, Matt Corral. Man, I know I'm missing a quarterback. Anyway, that's terrible. But Steve Wilks has had to deal with what the hand that he has. He couldn't turn over this roster. He's just had to make do with what he has and go into the kind of offense that we have with the resources that we have given us a much better winning percentage than when Matt Rule's here. Up until this weekend, he had won 50% of his games. His approach gives you a chance to win. So could his approach change if he's given a chance to build the team how he wants to? Absolutely, absolutely. But right now, he's been playing best to what he has. Wilks may get the Washington Commanders job per my sources, says Paul Mancini. I like Wilks, but like Harbaugh too, I don't see why they could let it work together because Steve isn't prideful at all. Well, you know, Paul Mancini on the chat made a comment earlier, which I appreciate and agree with, in that it could be awkward if you didn't lose the job, but you were a guy that was in power and you led this team, and you know, going back to a lesser role when you were, I would feel by all accounts, you would feel like he was successful. So that's a question for y'all out there. Not do you want Steve All right, had to change things up there. Give me 1 second to keep us going here. But question for everyone out there with Steve Wilks, not should he be the next head coach, but do you feel like he succeeded in what the purpose was for him being a good interim head coach? Did he succeed in making this team better than what it was before he got here? Not is it the best team that it could be, because that's obviously going to take an offseason and other changes. In my opinion, he succeeded at what he was supposed to do. He came in, he kept the team together, he kept the locker room together, he put out a product that made it, worthy of fans coming out to a game on a Sunday and watching, and he won. He won. It'll be, we got one more game versus the New Orleans Saints, but he won half of his game prior to this loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had the team in position to win the NFC South and make the playoffs. He did what he was supposed to do. So to be in that position to say, hey, you made me interim head coach, I did what I was supposed to do, I was successful at it, and now I'm a defensive coordinator for the same team. To me, yes, I do agree with Paul saying that there could be some awkwardness there. Don't know how well that would work. Josh, you giving support for Tim Tizzy to be a moderator. He does it in other podcasts. Okay, we'll consider. I don't know though. If would you do an exclusive contract? I might have to get you an exclusive contract. Just making fun of things. Oh, Big George said, I bring Sam back, but I don't think we can afford it, Chris. Yeah, that's a good point. That I didn't think about the financial aspect of it and how much you pay him. Yeah, man. So that's where I go to saying some things, so much speculation to it, so many levels on bringing Sam back. Would he want to be back? Would another team want Sam? Could we afford Sam? Those are all things that make that speculation on that just a little difficult. All right, I got time for one more. Gonna get out of here after this, and just want to remind you all to continue to stay subscribed, hit that alerts, sign up for the bell notifications. I'm gonna continue to bring you some news. I'm gonna do some digging with this Jim Harbaugh thing, see if I can't find some more good trinkets of information to share with you all. I'm gonna put this one up here. Does Steve Wilks' attachment to Panthers history give him an advantage? That's what we're gonna have to see if it gives him an advantage. How much does owner David Tepper value that connection that Steve Wilks has? How much does Dave Tepper value the connection that Wilks has, how long he's been here, how well he would have the team fight? What does he feel that Steve has done in using analytics that has not been talked about much, but I still continue to remember when we were all sitting at the big table with David Tepper when he first became the owner and had released Ron Rivera. He talked about the use of analytics. Now, Tepper has also said that he's learned a lot since becoming an owner, and he's learned a lot with the process that he had with Matt Rule and just balancing out things. He's talked with other owners about their way that they go about decisions and building their organization so that he can be better at it. But Tepper likes technology, he likes analytics. Wilks seems like an old school guy. I don't know how much of that he really went deep into and used. But I do know that I've heard him refer to saying, like, hey, we're going to talk to this health person, this person. So all things to be considered. All right, we'll close it out with one more. I'll give a bonus one because I see that this person has Kaylin. I vote for myself. I have over 28 years of progressive experience as couch coach. I love it. Yes, thank you so much. I had the biggest of brain. Like, I know we have had more than Matt Corral, which hadn't played, P.J. Walker, and Sam Darnold. I just could not think of the other person. Went to look on the Panthers website, didn't see it. I'm like, man, I'm going crazy. Baker Mayfield. Whoa. But at least I knew I was having a moment where I'm like just having the biggest live on air forget of information. Steve Wilks has had to use Baker Mayfield, P.J. Walker, and Sam Darnold because that's just all that he has. And until Sam made the changes that he had, before Sam came back, I was like, man, it's like choosing the best of average quarterbacks. It's not much difference between the three. And I see everybody coming in with that Baker Mayfield comment. Supernova says, Tepper already paid too much for mediocrity. I hope he doesn't do it again. Supernova, who would you vote for? And with that comment, Supernova, do you feel like Wilks would be mediocrity, or you feel like Harbaugh would be? I'm just trying to understand that comment a little bit more. So hopefully you're still on here, because once you answer that, then I'm going to go ahead and sign off and get to taking care of the rest of my day. But let me see, Supernova, hopefully you're still there. I want to know more about your thoughts on that mediocrity, or more about your comments on the mediocrity, and what exactly you were referring to as Steve Wilks being that mediocrity, or Jim Harbaugh. I'm not sold on Wilks, says Supernova. Not sold on Wilks. Okay, that's fair enough, not being sold on Wilks. The one thing, or a thing, that I do wonder about with Steve Wilks is how explosive could an offense become under Steve Wilks? As in, if he did get a more capable quarterback, would he still run the ball as much as he is right now? Or would he be willing to go either way? Let that guy throw the ball downfield, or is he always going to say, I'm going to run the ball? And I know the way that he's talked about running the ball, how much it just takes all the heart out of a defense. I still feel like he would be a run-first kind of offense, which I wouldn't be mad at, but I really would like to see how much he would go to spread it around. So that's kind of where I'm relating it to Supernova on your not being sold on Steve Wilks. For me, it's not so much being sold, it's just a question that I have that I can't really answer, because we have not seen him build a team as the head coach, and we'll continue to see. Hey, that's going to be it for today. Appreciate everybody so much for tuning in. Please continue to hit that like button if you haven't already done so. Pretty big need that I have for you to do that, so we can continue to grow and do more fun things covering this Carolina Panthers team. Hit that bell notification if you enjoy the live videos. We go live 100% for the reason of interacting with you. Not another media that does that. That's video, and we'll bring you on the show. And just appreciate it. Continue to tune in. Enjoy your day.